At TeachPassion Summit, we talked about there's these skill sets of intentional living. Our goal is we want to live intentional. When we live intentional, we don't happen to end up somewhere. We have a plan and we go towards it. And so over the past few years at TeachPassion Summit, we've been doing the intentional living, and we continue to say that's not enough time to get everything done. So that's why we created these mini camps, as we're calling them. And what we're trying to do over the next 3 years with the TeachPassion Summit is to give every single one of you the tools that I have learned over my life from mentors and leaders to live an intentional life. And that's really what that talk that I do every year at TeachPassion Summit is. So let's start out what we said at the summit itself. Is we said, let's start to define what does living intentionally look like. So our goal today is to help you get a mission statement. But before we get that mission statement, can we define what does that living intentionally look like? And so living intentionally today, from my point of view, and I've seen many, many definitions, and I've come to the conclusion that the best possible definition is making everyday decisions to make progress towards a future destination. Again, making everyday decisions to make progress towards a future destination, which we went through this a lot in my talk. But how do we make those decisions on a daily basis? So in my talk, we talked a little bit about the mantra. And we're going to talk a little bit about that mantra again today. But ultimately, you need a mission. Whenever you're on this path forward, you're going to have these moments of reflection. Am I doing the right thing? If you come to a fork in the road, do I turn left or I turn right? You need a mission statement. You need to be reminded. It's an anchoring to know why you're on this journey and what you're supposed to do in that journey. See, if we don't have a mission statement, we're going to drift. If I said our destination was to go to Orlando, Florida to Disney, that's a vision of where we want to go. There might be a why, some driving force, but ultimately, I have to remember the mission. The mission is we're going to make lasting family memories. Well, the mission is going to be we're going to have a great team building and grow deeper. You have to have that North Star to point you some direction so that you can ultimately make those everyday decisions. Another thing that a mission statement allows you to do is say no to the good. So we talk about this all the time of just saying no. And a lot of people are really good at saying no to things they don't want to do. If a spouse says, hey, let's go hang out with my in-laws, cue the Jeff Foxworthy jokes about in-laws, it's easy to say no because you don't want to do it. If a friend you don't really like wants to hang out, it's easy to say no because you ultimately don't want to do it. But how do we say no to the good things in life? How do we say no to the friend we really like that wants to hang out that maybe might not propel us towards our mission and might take us off our path? If we don't say no to the good, we don't get the opportunity to say yes to the great. And that mission statement helps remind us from the day to day. The other part, if we don't have a mission statement, what can we pass on to our children? Or if you're a leader, what can you pass on to your team when you're no longer there? All the time, we set these destinations and we drift. Maybe you decide to start running. And maybe you completed a marathon. And after that, you no longer have that compelling vision of where you want to go. And you start to run just a little bit less. You start to drift off because you don't have that mission. We see this all the time at companies where they don't have a mission statement that guides everything that they're doing. It's really hard to say no to the good, and that But they're so drifting so far away, they don't even know what the great looks like to say yes to. Because they forgot what they were all about. I think it's important as we talk about this, and I've used these words interchangeably, that there's 4 main things I believe every person should have. I've mentioned this at TeachPassion Summit the last few years. I've written blogs about this, but they're all different vocabulary depending on what you've grown up with, depending on who you listen to. So I think it's important we have the same vernacular. The why, as we say at Baritone with our team, is the driving force behind everything we do. The why here, and what I want you to know, is your reason for existing. Now, there are many people that will say, start with why, like Simon Sinek. There are many people who say, start with who, is another common thing. And there's different reasons. People will say, well, that's not a mission statement, that's actually a why statement. What we're saying here, when you have your why, it's the reason you exist. It's what gets you up in the morning. We use this in Baritone language, in TeachPassion Summit language, of the predictive index measures your deep down inside drivers. If those needs aren't being met, you're going to get met somewhere else. That's what your why is. It's the reason why you exist. Your why is in your DNA. It's the way God designed you. They say predictive index, roughly around age 13, your predictive index is created inside of you, and it's almost impossible for that to change. If you take it again, you get different results. It's probably because you didn't answer the questions correctly, or because you knew what the results might be, and you consciously or subconsciously changed your answers. That's how your why is. So I talk about all the time, discover your why. So for example, my why is I serve God by serving others. Now, I had somebody call us out one time, and we are going to do a why mini camp to teach you about your why. But somebody said to me, Greg, whoa, your why has changed over time. You literally told me years ago your why was different, because I'm still discovering it. Sometimes it's because I didn't discover the right why. My actual why has not changed, the language has changed. This is very similar to church world. The language changes. So the Catholic Church used to say, the Lord be with you, and everyone would say, also with you. And now the Catholic Church says, also with your spirit. Doesn't mean what they were saying before was incorrect. It's just a different translation. They used to say the Holy Ghost, and now they say the Holy Spirit. That didn't change who the Holy Spirit or the Holy Ghost was. It just changed our language around it. And I put them in this order because this is the foundational. This is the reason why you exist. It has to be that cornerstone. It's very, very, very hard to have a mission if you don't have a why. Now, you might say, Greg, I don't have a clue to define why. I haven't properly discovered my why. How could I tonight create my mission statement? Because, quite frankly, your mission statement is going to help you define your why. Your why is so existential. Your why is so hard to discover that you might spend years and years and years trying to refine your why. It's much easier to create your mission statement because your mission statement does change over time. I was asked one time on a podcast, what would your graduation speech be? And it really threw me for a loop because I've been asked a lot of questions before, but that was one I was never asked. And I thought for a minute, I said, you know what it'd be? Is your priorities change. The things that I thought were so important at 22 were completely different than 32. And are completely different at 42. And will be completely different at 52. Life experiences have changed what's important. Things I have in life. When I was married, the things that are important to me are different than when I was single. Having a child, it's different. Having a child and a dog, it's different. When I was really young, the only thing that mattered to me was politics and becoming a state senator. By the time I was 22, at 12, that was my goal. I actually had written down 12. By the time I was 22, I no longer wanted to be a state senator when the opportunity proposed itself. Your priorities will change over time. Your mission will change over time. but your why won't. So we're gonna start here because it's a lot easier to teach you this today, to get this wrong and change it. It will help you to discover that why in the future. So the mission is the one job you do. Just like we say at Baritone. We all have different roles, but we have one job and one job only. And our job is our mission statement. We educate and empower our clients to make informed financial decisions. We just have different roles. The example I always like to use of this is the gentleman that was working at NASA, who was a janitor. And JFK comes in and says, "What is it that you do here?" And he said, "Mr. President, I'm helping put a man on the moon." Because at that time, NASA had one mission. We were going to put a man on the moon by the end of the decade. We got him on there in 1969, 1 year early. Everyone understood that was their mission. It's one job that you do. So if this is your personal, it's for your company, it's for your family, it's the one job that you do. So mine is I live the gospel to empower others. I live the gospel to empower. That's my job. My job is to live the gospel of Jesus Christ to empower others. If I don't empower others, I don't have a job. And again, that will change over time, and we're going to help you tonight to equip you with your own. Your vision is where you're going. It's the future that you're building. And the example I used, we're going to Orlando. That's a vision. We know where we're going. At Baritone, it's the 412. At the TeachPassion Summit, we believe we're bringing leaders and teams together to make Pittsburgh more famous for God than steel. That's a vision where we want to go. And then we get to the shorter vision. We want to impact 4,000 leaders in the Pittsburgh community. Values are guardrails. Now, a lot of times I'm going over core values versus mission. A lot of the language is the same. If you read my blogs on each one of these ones, somebody one time called me out and said they're almost identical. I said they are very similar. And they're all interrelated. But they are different. And so the values, which I think of all these ones, the one that I use the most, every day I access my core values, both personally and professionally. And my personal is my family and my personal ones, but those two sides of it. So ultimately, mine is serve. I serve God by serving others, by always being educated, understanding what I'm doing, by my resolute leadership, by virtuous leadership, and by bringing energy, positive mental attitude to everything I do. There are guardrails, because if I'm doing this, I need my guardrails. This tells me to go forward. This keeps me in the road. This helps me decide when I'm in a fork in the road, which direction to go. This one keeps me in the lanes when I did that. So that's our goal at the TeachPassion Summit. Is that transformation, and every single leader will have all of these on their tool belt. And we're going to continue to work on that. We really spent time on the core values. Now we're spending time on that mission, and we'll get to the why. So your mission statement is the one job you are here to do. Say it so simply, you can say it as stoplight. So if you remember at the TeachPassion Summit, I was talking about intentional living. I said, we got to refine this down to its core essence. This is my best attempt to define it down to its core essence. So it's the one job. That's why I've highlighted this. It's the one job. It's not the 2 jobs or 3 jobs. One of the things I'll talk about in our mini camps is your 3 rules in life. Again, we talked about this Baritone. Our team has one job, but different roles. Your one job is your mission statement. You may have different roles that you live it out. So for example, my 3 roles, I'm a leader first, I'm a husband second, and I'm a father third. Those roles are all still the same job. You are here to do it. You are called and equipped by God. It is in our DNA. This is your purpose on earth. Stated so simply that you could say it as a stoplight. And I'm not talking about, everyone knows there's probably one stoplight in your town. That's the long stoplight. There's one, it's probably because I'm always late for church on Sundays, but it's this like left turn in Millville. Or I guess not Millville, Etna. It always drives me nuts. It feels like it's insanely long. But again, it's probably because I'm running behind. I'm talking about a normal stoplight. You can say it that quick. I say to have a great mission statement, you have to have 3 tests. It has to be absolutely memorable. You can say it without looking. If I'm going to use this every day of my life, if I'm going to use this to make decisions in my life, it has to absolutely be memorable. I have to internalize it, not memorize it. It has to be quotable. It has to sound like you and not a brochure, not something you copy and paste it. I will tell you, artificial intelligence is really great at helping you refine this if you put the work in. Ask me these questions. Play devil's advocate with me. What artificial intelligence is not good at is, hey, here's my core values. Can you create a mission? It's actually kind of funny. I actually did this. I said, like, hey, here's my core values. Can you create a mission statement? It was so off. It's not who I was. It has to sound like you. One of the things when I was creating my first mission statement, I was giving it to people. I said, does this sound authentic to who I am? Does it sound authentic to the life I live? Is this truly who I am? Or is this a version of me that I want out there that doesn't actually exist? It must be actionable. You can hold it up against a decision and you get the answer. It doesn't mean you're going to get the right answer. I've used my mission statement sometimes to make a decision, and it wasn't the right answer. Because a lot of times decisions are very complex. There's variables you didn't know. It's not going to make you get to the perfect answer. What's it going to make you get to? An answer. It's going to provide clarity. It's not foolproof. Just like core values are guardrails, they're not foolproof. They're simply helping you to make decisions and make better decisions, so that you don't wind up somewhere that you drifted to that was never your goal. If you want to live that intentional life, the best way you're going to get there is by having these tools to help you from drifting. I think it's important that when you're building your mission statement, you don't need 1, you have to have 3. You don't need 1, you have to have 3. Our goal tonight is to work on helping you get 1. So the first one is your personal. Your personal, and what we're going to work on tonight is, who am I called to be? And these go from left to right because they go in order of importance. You have to know your personal to then create a family one, to then create a company one. Who did God design me to be? What is my meaning? What is my purpose here on life? So, for example, I am called by God to be a passionate servant leader who lives the gospel to empower others. I am called by God to be a passionate servant leader who lives the gospel to empower others. Anyone that knows me would probably agree that that is who I am. Now, did that sound different than what I shared in the previous slides? Did you catch that? The one I shared in the previous slide was a reduced version of this. I said I live the gospel to empower others. Where did this other part come from? This is my actual mission statement. The one on the other slides was my mission statement. It's just a reduced form of it. It's the true essence of it. This is the one I recite to myself every single day. This is the one I spent, which I'm going to share with you. I spent years to distill it down to this line. You can distill it even further. Just like at Baritone, we have a larger mission statement that we truncated shorter. And if you caught me, I said the shortened version. And I often use the shortened version of it, but I have to have a little bit longer version to fully understand and be the guide that we need as a company. What does it guide? It guides every single personal decision that I make. Whether it's my health, whether it's my time, whether it's my relationships, my money, the things that I make decisions on each and every day of my life are guided by this. That's why it's so important. The family one is what is our family for? Again, this is who I'm called to be. But my wife might be called to be somebody different. My daughter might be called and designed by God to be somebody different. This is where we come together. Your family mission statement, much like family core values, must be congruent. They must be compatible. But they're rarely ever the same. And so for us, it's living our faith in Jesus Christ by loving and serving others. They're very compatible. See, this is living our faith in Jesus Christ. This one is who lives the gospel. They're very similar, but they are uniquely different. And our family one, it's by loving and serving others. And my personal one, it's empowering others. See, what gets me up, like what gets me excited is empowering other people, to see other people have success. But as a family, I have to take into account what my wife, what's important for her. I have to take into account what's important for my daughter. I have to take into account as a spiritual leader of my family, what's important to us is we want to love and serve others. Well, I can still empower others when I serve them. But if I'm just empowering people, I might not be loving and serving them. And what the point of this one is it guides my parenting decisions. It guides the money decisions we make as a family. It guides things like, how do I spend my weekends? Well, if I just follow my personal mission statement and I live the gospel by empowering others, I might spend no time just talking to leaders and never spend time with my family. I might always be with maybe a leader of leaders and never spend time with somebody that's emerging as a leader. But if I'm serving others, that changes. If I'm loving others, that changes. So often when I talk to couples before they're getting married, I find that they've never created personal core values, they've never created a personal mission statement. So how are they supposed to work together to create family core values and a family mission statement? And then they wonder why things are different, because inevitably you're going to get in fights with your marriage. There are going to be times, no matter who you are, if you live with someone, not even a marriage, let's just say you have a roommate. You have the greatest roommate. I love what the colleges they do now. It's like their version of swiping left and swiping right. They actually have to pick their roommates now, if you guys have seen this. Where when I was in college, they just assigned you. You just hooked, it was great. And you do all this work, and you're like, you do these assessments beforehand, they try to really pair you together. But ultimately, when you live with somebody, it's difficult. So when you go to get married, it becomes difficult. You're going to have these fights. It's not because you're married, it's because you're living together. It's because God designed you differently. What is going to be our common ground? When we have differences, what's the one thing that unites us? We talk about this all the time. We have more that unites us than divides us in America. Yet all we do is we look at our differences. I think generally we all want life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. That's pretty common ground. We all believe in the Constitution. That's pretty common ground. We generally care about others. We want others to pursue happiness, to live the American dream. All we ever focus on is the differences we have. What this joint family mission statement allows you to do is to understand in those times of differences what really matters. You power that with core values is a very powerful thing. But tonight we're going to focus on this one. Because if you get this done, you can get this done. Now you might be saying, maybe I'm not married. You might be saying, I lost my spouse. What's the point of this? It might not be the right time for you to do this, but you'll never be able to do this if you don't do this first. So if you're not married yet, don't create this. Create this to be able to make this in the future. I actually was doing some pre-marriage counseling with someone, and we were going through this whole thing, and they had created family core values and a family mission statement prior to getting married. I had to explain to this gentleman that's probably, I'm not by no means a marriage expert. If you don't believe me, just ask my wife, she'll tell you I'm not a marriage expert. But ultimately, you can't create this and try to shove it down somebody's throats. I will tell you, that's how I created our family mission statement, and it did not go well. I was tired that we had not created one, so I just created one. It's best to do it together. Well, how do you do it together? You convince your spouse or partner, come to TeachPassion Summit and come to a mini camp, learn how to do this, then compare yours together. I would love at some point in the future now, with how far AI has advanced, to see a couple that takes their two individual mission statements and combines them together and see what AI has to say. Taking two separate core values and combine them together and see what AI has to say. Be a fun experiment. Your company is what is the one job. Good personal, who I'm called to be. Family is what is our family for. Our company is what is the one job. The one job that we all do together. So for us, it's educate and empower our clients to make informed financial decisions. It guides our hiring. It guides our firing. It guides just about every decision that we make as a company. It keeps us in alignment. It stops us from drifting. So I talk about this at Baritone. I say it all the time. We have one job, but we have different roles. So how does that play out? Well, the advisor delivers the plan and holds the conversation. The paraplanner builds the analysis behind the plan. Operation keeps the experience smooth and on time. The marketing makes the education reach the people we haven't met yet. As a founder, I cast the vision so the job can scale. Every single one of those is a different role, all with one job. That one job is to educate and empower our clients. Well, a lot of times somebody says, well, I'm in operations. I never see a client. How is that possibly my job? Because if operations doesn't do this well, the financial planner can't do it well. The financial planner can't do it well if the paraplanner doesn't build out that information. The clients need every single person on our team, down to our accountants, our financial planners, our marketing, every person comes together, much like that gentleman at NASA who was taking out the trash, understood by taking out the trash, he was helping those engineers to have a clean office environment. He was helping those engineers that they didn't have to spend the time taking out the trash so that they could spend more time getting us on that moon. That's what a mission statement is like. So now I've convinced you that you need a mission statement. We talked about it. I want to share with you the mistakes that I've made. What equips you, Greg, to talk about mission statements? Well, let's start out with the fact I've been making mission statements now. I was pretty young. My first mission statement that I drafted when I was probably about 8 to 10 years old. I don't have a copy of it, but I remember doing it. That changed. But the first time I really created a mission statement that I thought was the perfect mission statement for my life, I had spent about a year building this out. I had gone through draft after draft after draft after draft after draft. And I kept getting down to the core essence. What's important? And I would try to say, can I take this out? And I'd take it out and reread it. I believe it so much, I printed it out. I used to have this on my desk. I put a Luther's Rose in the background. This is actually a picture that I printed out. This is the actual one. Some of you might have actually seen this on my desk years and years ago. And I thought, man, it has Luther's Rose behind it. Luther's Rose has all this meaning. If you haven't noticed, I always wear Luther's Rose on my neck. I often, you'll see, I wear Luther's Rose on my cufflinks. I'll wear it on my lapel pin. And it really had the meaning of what my mission statement was. I'm like, this thing is really, really great. And you'll notice that, by the way, there's parts of this that still exist. I serve others to serve God. It's very similar to my current why is. The components were there. I memorized this whole thing. It wasn't hard for me. I've known the Nicene's Creed, the Apostles' Creed, my fraternity creed. I hadn't said my fraternity creed for years and years and years. My fraternity was reinitiating a chapter. I got invited to go there, and we all got around and said the fraternity creed. I couldn't believe how quickly I was able to memorize it. And I will tell you, it is much, 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 much longer than this. So it wasn't I didn't memorize it. I often quoted it all the time. And people ask me, what's your mission statement? By the way, I cannot quote this anymore. I used to be able to do this. But I haven't looked at this thing in years and years. What I found was I wasn't really using it. Yeah, it looked pretty on my desk. Yeah, I could quote it. But if I'm sitting there and I'm going to make a decision, do you think that I'm going to quote that whole thing in my head? And if I do it, which part of it is integral for this decision? Is it this part? Is it this part? Is it this part? How can my brain process that? Maybe if I'm artificial intelligence and I can read that much in that quick time period, I can make a decision with this. But ultimately, I found that when I was making decisions, I actually didn't use it. I spent all this time building this mission statement. I felt really, really great about this mission statement, yet it was useless. Has there ever been a time in your life that you spent a lot of time building something that was beautiful, building something you were proud of, but didn't advance one thing that you did well? We sell this lie in America that hard work pays off. That hard work is how we pursue the American dream. But I think it's a lie. It's focused hard work. When we're living intentionally, we want to get to somewhere. It's not just hard work. It's, are we aiming in the right direction? Are we making the right decisions day to day to get to that place? That original one had 134 words in it. My current version, 6. Baritone, the company I'm the visionary of. Guess how many core values we have? See, phone numbers were these things we used to call. There's 7 digits. Did you ever wonder why it's 7 digits? It's the most amount of numbers that a human being can reasonably retain in a short period of time. And even this is challenging. You can't focus on much more than 7 things. When we went over core values, I encouraged everyone to never go over 7. I actually said 5 is the best number. I just could never get it down to 5. I didn't legalistically try to get it down to 6. What I tried to do was continuously remove words to get it down to 7 or less. That process of stripping it down along the way not only makes it more impactful, but it makes it a lot easier to memorize it. The reason why it's down to 6 is I can say it at a stoplight. I couldn't say all these 134 words at a stoplight. It made it that I could actually use it in my life. It may not have been as pretty. It may not have as much sway if you saw it on my desk, but ultimately it was actionable. I live the gospel to empower others. Why? I serve God by serving others. It's the root of everything. My mission is my one job I'm here to do. It's a verb because I'm taking action. I live. At Baritone, we educate and empower. It's a verb of how the why shows up in my everyday. The vision is where I'm going. It's the preferred future that I want. It goes back to our original of what does it mean to live intentional. It's making everyday decisions to make progress towards a future destination. Ultimately, what this is helping me to do, that future destination is my vision. The mission is the one job. It's helping me make those everyday decisions to get there. So how do we do it? How do I actually put together a mission statement? Greg, that's great that you had that. How did you get it down to that essence? And I'm going to tell you the reason why I got down to the essence is because I put the hard work in. I got it still down to who I wanted to be. It was a lot of prayer. I prayed over it. It was a lot of what I call spaghetti, throwing things out there. That was a lot of tearing things out and put it back in. But I started to realize I had to create a mantra. And this is exactly what we worked at the TeachPassion Summit. A mantra is I'm the type of person who. See, if you can do this, it tells you the type of person. So your mission statement tells you the job. The mantra tells you the person. Well, it becomes really easy to figure out what my job is if I know the type of person I need to be to get that job. So we talked about this and most of you put this work into TeachPassion Summit. I'm the type of person who shows up calm and prepared. I'm the type of leader who feels safe following. I'm the type of dad who skis with his grandchildren. That's mine. I'm the type of person who puts people before productivity. If I'm tempted to skip a workout, I gotta say to myself, am I the type of person that skis my grandchildren? Oh, if I miss the workouts now, I can't do that. that helps me to understand the essence of my mission. So I want to talk to you about the poor versus the good mission statements. Poor mission statements are very vague. They're copy and pasted. And it can't be applied to your life. The good mission statements are very specific. They're memorable. Vague, specific. Copied and paste, memorable. Can't be applied. These ones get used. And so these are examples. By the way, these are all real mission statements. These are actually pulled from company websites to deliver exceptional value to our shareholders. Have you guys heard that before? It's like not on one website. This is on a lot of websites. I always love it when I was first starting out, there was these companies that were telling me, hey, we're going to create a website for you. And they would give us the shell website you're supposed to fill out. It had like mission, and it had vision, and it had core values. You're supposed to fill it out. Well, I started to learn really quickly what companies use that same vendor. Because when I went to their websites, had the same generic picture, the same generic mission statement, the same core values. I actually did this as me, how I'm wired. I typed in that fake mission statement, Googled it at Google Financial Advisor, and found out over a ton of firms in Pittsburgh that were using it. It was embarrassing. By the way, they still exist out there to this day. We strive for excellence in everything we do. Like, I love that. Because you know what the funny part is? The companies that have that are usually the last ones I think of when I think about excellence. Our mission is integrity, teamwork, and innovation. That's not a mission, that's what? I would even say core values. You know what that is? It's generic values. You heard us at TeachPassion Summit. Teamwork and integrity, two of Enron's core values. Now here's some good ones. Fans first, entertain always. Savannah Bananas. Like, if you work at Savannah Bananas, like, you understand what your mission is. Like, we're not on one mission. What are we doing? We're going to put our fans first. We're going to entertain always. It's that simple. Can you make decisions? Like, that's pretty easy to make that decision. I'm putting the fan first. I'm entertaining always. When you make the decision in that moment, it's pretty simple. It's clear. Life is good to spread the power of optimism. I got a chance to see the founder of Life is Good at a conference I was in one time in San Diego. One of the most unique keynotes I've ever seen. He actually drank a beer during it, tossed some frisbees out during it. And he talked about how this mission was such a driving force that their whole thing was to spread the power of optimism. He's like, he literally said, the reason why I took this talk was to spread optimism to you. My goal in this talk is to make each and every one of you optimistic. He talked about why he developed that company, why it's just such a simple slogan. And if everyone could just say life is good, imagine where the world would be. Like, if you work there, it's pretty easy to understand what your job is. Educate and empower clients to make informed financial decisions. I think it's pretty clear if you work at Baritone what your job is. If you work at Great Fear Incorporated, is it easy to understand what your job is? If you work, put your name in and fill in the blank, incorporated, is it easy to understand what your mission statement, what your job is? So what I'm going to work with you on now is how can you do this? And I'll distill my process down to these steps. First is pray. Seek God for wisdom. Solomon was considered the wealthiest king that ever lived. They've actually quantified it and compared it to other kings and adjusted for inflation. And by all historical records and context, in non-religious views, he's the wealthiest person that ever lived. Now it's debatable, and if you go and type this into AI, you're going to see that there's different historical ones, but most people consider him to be the wealthiest. And part of why he was so wealthy is he had this wisdom. And in non-biblical context, they literally, as historical records, write about his King Solomon and how wise he was. He was known throughout the entire world for his wisdom. His wisdom came from a source. It was God. If you have the ability to access the creator of everything, seek God first. 2 is spaghetti. And why I call it spaghetti is when you're cooking spaghetti, you pull it out, you throw it against the wall. Some of it will stick, and some of it will fall down. You want to take that approach. Start by writing too much. Write tons and tons of things that you think about. It's much, much easier to what we call it at Baritone, whiteboard. Throw a bunch of things in the whiteboard. In EOS language, we call it keep, kill, and combine. What I want to keep, what I want to kill, what I want to combine on it. That process, once you have it all up there, allows you to narrow it down. And you want to narrow it down to 5 words. Well, how many did I tell you mine was? 6. It's better to get to 5. Maybe you can only get to 10. That's better than 300. Next thing you want to do is distill. Shorten the writing statement to its essence. This is the hardest part of the entire process. Mark Twain said, I would have wrote a short letter, but I didn't have enough time. Get it down to a few, but distill it's even harder. Then you want to test drive it. Once you have it, tell others. Ask people. Create 3 decisions you've done test against 3 decisions you've done in your life. Does this work? Does this answer it? Share it and refine it. 99% of people quit stage 4. Now I didn't put a research piece in there because that 63% of all statistics are made up on the spot. What this came from is my own personal observation. I'm telling you, I've helped a lot of people go through this. They stop at number 4. So what we're going to do with our remaining time is we're going to start to put in that hard work. What we're going to do tonight is start your own work with this worksheet. What I want you to do tonight, and we got about 6 minutes to do this in, is I want you to pick personal. There's 3 options. I'm going to pick personal. And I want you to write down 10 things. You want to write more. Every possible job, calling, or purpose that you might be here to do. Once you're done with that, if you want to move on to step 3 now, you can. But your goal is going to be to pull out your calendar and block out 1 hour in the next 7 days that you can start to work on this. And maybe you can't in your schedule figure out an hour, then prioritize 30 minutes. But I would tell you, this helps you make decisions. This helps you live your intentional life to get to your call and where you want to be. You can't afford not to block out an hour. And your goal is to write down 1 person that you're going to share it with. And you might say, Greg, in 1 hour, it's not going to be refined. That's okay. If you got 30 sentences in there, share the 30 sentences. So we got about 6 to 7 minutes to work on that.